Today is January 6, 1975, and I'm interviewing Mr. Abraham Loskov. Abe. Abe. Loskov.
Loskov, L-O-S-K-O-V.
Yeah, L-A-S-K.
L-O-S.
L-O-S-K-O-V-E in New York. Now, first of all, when did you arrive in Europe as a representative of the Joint Distribution Committee?
I came in October of 1945.
October 1945.
Right after the war. And the Jews were just coming out of the concentration camps, and they were coming into the DP camps, and some of them in little hostels throughout Germany.
Now, when did you first come into contact, professional contact, with a chaplain?
I must have come in contact with a chaplain and subsequently chaplains soon after my arrival in Bad Nauheim, Germany, which was the latter part of 1945. There was unfortunately, I don't remember which chaplain that was at that particular time. Those are well known to me, and I've heard a great deal of them when I was in Germany and their activities, but I personally did not have any personal contact with them, working-wise. I mean, socially, I met with Abe Klasner and, of course, Max Braudy and others. But with Abramowitz,
Mm-hmm.
I had a very close working relationship with in Frankfurt and also in Bad Nauheim. The fact of the matter was that the JDC at that particular time was not organized with its program.
You're talking about 1945.
Yeah, 1945, to bring in relief supplies, amenities to the individuals. We would get them periodically, but not on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the chaplains who had contacts with their synagogues, with their communities, that were receiving packages to be given to the DPs. And much of that was done through the intervention of the representative of the Joint Distribution Committee. They didn't know the people as well as we did, and we were the social workers to a certain extent, and we had the possibilities to organize the distribution much better than they could. The items that they got were amenity supplies, but you'd be surprised how important they were to these individuals. I'll never forget, as long as I live, when through the chaplains we got something, cosmetics. It was lipstick, and I said to myself, these people are hungry, and these people need so many basic necessities of life, and what in the hell are we going to do giving them lipstick? Well, when we had about 5 or 10 lipsticks, and I gave it to the younger, there were not too many young people there, you know, but I gave them to the girls whom I thought would be able to appreciate. Well, that meant so much to them in terms of lifting their morale. I mean, first of all, they started smelling it, and then they almost wanted to eat it, and so forth. They knew about lipstick, but they'd never had one in their whole lifetime. and this meant so much to them. Then, of course, you got the other things. I mean, food was also very, very important, canned goods, and all of the traditional things that the Jewish people of the United States sent to a chaplain, like the salami and the gefilte fish and the all of the other things. And all of that was given to us, and we gave it to the people. And without these things, we would not have been in a position to do this. Also, chaplains were very active in the Aliyah Bet, and we willy-nilly had to involve ourselves in it whether we wanted to or not. I'll never forget the time when, you know, you become a veteran overnight when you join the JDC at that particular time. As an American, I mean, you're scared, you don't know what it's all about, and suddenly you're thrown into a situation and you have to sink or swim. And fortunately, in my particular position, I'm still swimming because this is 30 years that I've been with the organization. But you come in green, and then they send you out to a certain area, and you don't know what it's all about, and suddenly there's a whole movement of Jewish DPs coming from one DP camp. Well, I don't remember the exact name of it at this particular time, but they came into Bad Nauheim, Germany. And it must have been any number of people. They were on their Aliyah Bet, they were on their way to Israel, and Bad Nauheim was one of the stopover places where they planned to stay for about 5 or 6 days. So, and it was cold as hell. So I was contacted, first of all, by a chaplain.
Remember the chaplain?
I don't remember his name. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. And it doesn't ring a bell, as you had mentioned the names. And he said to me, Abe, he says, tomorrow there's going to be a lot of action in your community, and we need help. There were some 50 Jewish DPs coming from another camp on their way to Bad Nauheim, with their end destination a ship somewhere to get to Israel. And they were not allowed to come to Bad Nauheim. There were orders stating from the general's office that there should not be any movement of DPs from one camp to another. But these fellows were on the run, on the go, and we knew that I was told that they were to arrive, and we had to provide for them, provide for accommodations, food, and it was cold, so they had to have fuel and warmth. And he said, "This is up to you now to make all the arrangements." I was scared to death, because here I'm a JDC representative in uniform, but basically I'm a civilian. So naturally, the only place that you could go to was the military governor. Talked to the colonel there, and he was a rough guy. And he says, "God damn it," he says, "you're not supposed to be moving here, and we've got strict orders. Tell them to go back." And I said, "Well, you can't tell them to go back, because they're going to be here in another few hours, and they're all persecutees. They've all been in concentration camps, and the least that we can do is to give them temporary assistance." So he was sore, and then he said, "Well, what can you do?" He says, "All right." He gets on the telephone and calls one of his majors, and he says, "Well, look, Mr. Loskov, the Joint Distribution Committee is here, and he's working, trying to help some of these Jewish people." He says, "Give him all of the cooperation that you possibly can." And I don't doubt the fact that the Jewish chaplain, whose name I don't remember, had a lot to do with this also in getting some positive action going for me on this thing. Well, to make a long story short, we got billets for them, and we got fuel and straw where they bedded themselves for 4 or 5 days, and the Army provided them with food and so forth. But this was the Aliyah Bet, and we were involved to make it possible for them to continue their ongoing march towards their final destination. There's what's his name, Abramowitz, in Frankfurt, checked with me any number of times on Aliyah Bet movements, and indicated that we'll have to have certain supplies for a certain number of people at a given time, and would you please see to it that all of this is arranged.
So you worked together with
So we did work very closely with the chaplains. I did. Then, it's a shame that I don't remember this man's name, and in Bad Nauheim, there was a chaplain that used to come in from, he was responsible for that whole area, Wetzlar and Bad Nauheim and Friedberg, and there was there was a very beautiful shul in Bad Nauheim that was never used, or it remained intact during the war, and I happened to be a traditional Jew, and with this chaplain we were able to fix this up so that all of the Jewish people in Bad Nauheim were able to have a Beit Knesset. And he would come in every Shabbat with his Jeep and daven with the DPs and befriend them, and really left an impact on the entire Jewish collectivity there. If I don't remember him, I'm sorry that I don't, but I'm sure that any number of DPs in that area at that particular time will never forget him. And all of these fellows too, the chaplains, they were all very warm and very helpful, and if they were a recipient of packages, and as I said at the beginning, many of them turned over their packages to the JDC representative, but any number of them had their own little welfare arrangements, personal arrangements, and they would make personal gifts of these packages to these people, which really was something that was so exceedingly important, vital. What more can I tell you about them? I mean, I can just generalize about, but specifics is very...
Did you ever have to provide food with the chaplain together?
With the chaplain? No, I don't think we ever had anything like that.
Were you involved with the chaplain, Jewish agency or no?
Well, you see, all of the work of the JDC in the DP camps was UNRWA,
right? I understand.
And we were working with them.
Did you ever have to come to the chaplain, for instance, to ask for help through the military, aside from this one specific?
I never did. As a matter of fact, no.
You had your own.
We had our own contacts. You see, I was a JDC representative. We were in uniform. I was billeted in the senior officers' billets, which is what is I think it's major and upward. We had assimilated ranks of that category, and if you have any kind of a understanding and personality, you develop a relationship, and you're able to fend for yourself very, very well. I never did have that kind of a contact where I needed
I'll tell you why, because some of the chaplains...
Excuse me.
Okay. The reason I was asking you specifically about that relationship between the Army and yourself was because some of the chaplains indicated to me that very often the JDC representative found it easier to go through them in order to get something done. Whereas when I speak to many of the JDC workers, I get the opposite impression that they are able to have established certain relationships whereby only in certain cases do they really need a chaplain.
That's right. As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever had to rely on the intervention of a chaplain to get something done for the DP. A guy is in jail, or got fouled up, and many of them did. Well, I had an open door to the military governor.
Mm-hmm. Same thing when you had a smooth relations between the DPs and the Army. So, same thing. What about involvement in working in concentration camps? Were you involved in any
concentration camp? I was never in. I came in after the war.
Yeah, well, I understand that. But, for instance, there were people working in Dachau, there were people working in Buchenwald, etc.
No.
Okay. Were you ever involved in helping the chaplain collect guns, ammunition, or money for Palestine? Many of the chaplains have characterized some of the early JDC workers as people who were 9-to-5ers, and that they treated this crisis with a business-as-usual attitude. How do you respond to such remarks? Did you see people of that sort?
I think that's the most unfounded statement that I could ever... I cannot believe that any man in his right mind could make a statement like that, because I was no different than the average, and we didn't have any such thing as hours. We were working day and night. There were times when I was up all night long working on problems with unfortunate young people who had problems, and the only way that you could solve them was to just sit and listen to them talk, and listen to them cry, and get it off their chest. And how many nights did I, as well as my colleagues, sit up in order to just give them this feeling of release. Also, you refer to Herbert Friedman, and as a chaplain, there was an incident. I don't know whether you've heard about it.
At Landsberg.
At
Landsberg.
Well, no, it wasn't in Landsberg. It was in right outside of Frankfurt. It was at Babenhausen.
Yeah.
In Babenhausen, right after the Kelsey pogrom, when the Jews were fleeing from Poland, and they came into Germany on a train, and they came into the city of Babenhausen, where there was a DP camp, UNRWA DP camp, waiting for them. But it just so happened that camp had barbed wire all around it. And when the people were on the train, they saw this wire, and they said, "Wir gehen nicht herunter von der Zug," because they're bringing us not into a DP camp, but into a concentration camp, and we're not going to get down. So Herbert Friedman came out. The joint was there.
Were you there?
I was there.
Yeah.
Well, you know that whole story.
I'm familiar with this.
And we were working day and night, begging these people, "Geht da raus von der Zug." And no, then ich bin Ayyid, du bist nicht Ayyid, du siehst nicht aus wie Ayyid, ich Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, ich bin Ayyid, you know what I mean? And then all night long we were trying to get them off, and then it was decided that, well, they're not going to get off, and they're going to go back to Poland. And Herb said to me, for some reason, "Abe, I want you to get on the train with them and escort them." But before it was, I said, "Okay, here." I didn't sleep all night long. I'm telling you the story because of that statement that you made, you know. No, then, thank God, I mean, for some reason or other, I was ready to go, but they decided to take somebody else. And by the time they were going back, these fellows were talking to them on the train, and they changed their minds. And they came back, and were able to get them off subsequently. I think it was a 2-day deal before they could get them off. And then, of course, the DP camp wasn't as bad as it was, and after having been there for about 3 or 4 days, when we decided, well, you're going to Roskang, you want to go to another camp? Nee, we're going to bleiben. We're going to bleiben here. But I mean, this is a lot of nonsense. The man, you said several chaplains had made that accusation?
Yeah, I would say they didn't make it on the level of the lower level, I shouldn't say lower level, but guys who worked in the field, but they had against some of the people who were sitting in the top offices, particularly in Paris.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that's why I'm interested in hearing the other side.
Oh, I think that it's a gross. Look, I wasn't. I know my colleagues in Paris, and I know their dedication,
Right.
and I just cannot believe that was a kind of an operation that they ran. They were my bosses, and I know how many times did I get a telephone call at 11 o'clock at night.
Okay. No, well, that's the type of response that I want to understand. Now, how would you characterize the role of American Jewish chaplain during this period, from 44 to 46, that you were involved in?
Well, the few that I met were great guys, and they had their job to do in the Army as Army people, and many of them laid their reputations or their positions on the line in order to help the DP, or to get involved in the Aliyah bed, or to defend the DP when they were not supposed to, or to be their advocate for things that normally were not justified, but they did it because they were Jews and they had to help Jews, and these people might have normally, under a normal society, been rightly condemned, but the chaplain took his stand to defend him, right or wrong.
Mm-hmm. How would you characterize your relationship with the chaplain in terms of, did you work together? Was there? I'll give you an example. Chaplains have said, for instance, that they would characterize their relationship with JDC people as being one of where, because there was so much work to be done, that everybody was working together. It was a complementary type of effort, where the JDC worker was here, chaplain was there whenever they could help each other in whatever way. It was that type of thing. Whereas other JDC people have said, well, in my case it was different. It was where the chaplain came to me and I was the leader.
Yeah, well, I would think that both are correct. It depends on where you are, the area that you're working in. For instance, I don't know, I had to relate to Munich when I was in Frankfurt and when I was in Bad Nauheim, but our headquarters for Germany was in Munich. And I know that Abe Klausner was like a member of the staff of the JDC. I know that Max Browdy was like a member of the staff of JDC. I mean, there was mutual accord, and I know that their lifelong friendships that have been maintained as a result of that period of working together.
Mm-hmm. Now, is there any area that I have not touched upon that you feel should be discussed with regard to the chaplain and what he was doing, American Jewish chaplain?
I'm sorry, I wish you see, I was only involved with 2 or 3 of them.
Well, yeah.
And those that I worked with, I enjoyed the relationship.
We were talking about Friedman, Abramowitz,
and the fellow in Bad Nauheim. And then there was another one down in Wiesbaden who was he was just a nice guy, and he was very interested in the DPs in that area, and we would see each other from time to time, and he would point out a particular case that he's been visiting and whether JDC could not be helpful. We were also involved at that time in an emigration program. That was before the Hayas became independent, and JDC was working as a emigrating office as well, and oftentimes the chaplain, through his personal contact, had brought to our attention cases that we subsequently worked up and got them out.
Okay.
So I don't know whether
It's been
that's...
very, very helpful.
I might do a little bit touch out. I mean, just another...
Part of the puzzle.
Part of the puzzle, that's right.
Okay, thank you very
All
much.
right, very welcome indeed.